Hello, my sweet friends. I am so excited that we are getting back on track and that our next series begins 2 weeks from today. And I'm thrilled to be filming this new warm up video for you on what is going to be our first Megillah, uh, uh, Kohelet, known in English as Ecclesiastes. Now, this is a pretty different beginning than the one that we had originally intended. And so I'm going to put the link in the email that I'm sending with this video to the Song of Songs warm-up video that I sent out back when we thought we were getting started in the spring, because in that video I share some general framing, introduction to the Megillot, what is a Megillah. And so I'm not going to redo that. Instead, in this video, I'm just going to focus on two big picture ideas. Remember, these videos are bonus content because some of you asked for a little bit of the broader context of the book so that we can save our class time for connecting and listening to one another and diving deeply into the themes of the particular Megillah that we're looking at in that month. So two big picture ideas connected to Ecclesiastes, in Hebrew known as Kohelet. The first, so Kohelet is a little bit exceptional for us because unlike the other four Megillot, there's no prominent female character in the book of Kohelet. So what we said is that we're going to use Kohelet as an opportunity to reflect on and to share some of our own, big picture questions, personal theology, just a chance to take a step back and to think a little bit and to share a little bit about what we believe and how it is that we make sense of the world. Because that is the central project of Megillat Kohelet. Tradition tells us that Kohelet was authored by King Solomon, although he is never mentioned by name in the Megillah. Rather, tradition suspects that it's him. First of all, it's recorded in Song of Songs Rabbah that he is the author. But I think that the reason that book of Midrash called Song of Songs Rabbah attributes Ecclesiastes to Solomon is because in the opening lines of the Megillah, we get this description, this image of a king who has everything. He has tons of wives and tons of wealth and horses and gold and finery, and yet he finds his life to be meaningless. And so Song of Songs Rabbah tells us that King Solomon penned three works, Song of Songs, which we're going to meet towards the end of our series when he was young and in love, Proverbs when he was a well-established, somewhat family man, we'll say, and Kohelet when he found himself at the end of life asking big life questions. And so what we said is that we're going to use this Megillah, and this will be a nice way for us to dive back in as a chance for us to similarly ask big life questions. But the second piece of context that I want to give you about Kohelet is that Kohelet is one book in the Tanakh, the Hebrew Bible, that is an example of wisdom literature. And in the concept of wisdom literature, we meet an attribute of the feminine, which is Sophia. So, of course, we might be more familiar with Sophia from Greek thought and Greek literature. Sophia is a Greek word, the Greek personification of wisdom in the feminine. But we have the very same phenomenon within the Hebrew Bible because the truth is these two traditions are linked. There's a layer of the formation of the Hebrew Bible that comes straight out of the world of ancient Greece. And this, what is known as wisdom literature, wisdom tradition, informs both what we know of colloquially as Greek philosophy and Socrates and what we might have learned about in our secular education. The same wisdom literature informs also the Hebrew Bible and is preserved in several books of the Hebrew Bible, of which Ecclesiastes Kohelet is one of them. So we get this concept from the book of Proverbs, another book associated with Solomon. Solomon himself, was known to be the wisest king in the land, and that's our tradition's way of telling us that he is associated with the wisdom tradition. And so in Proverbs, we get a sentence that it's almost identical to the opening of the book of John in the New Testament, where Proverbs talks about Torah as Reshit Chochmah. Chochmah, meaning wisdom, being the feminine analog to Sophia. Just like the Greek philosophical tradition has Sophia, we have Chochmah. Chochmah is Torah, and she is personified feminine. And so it's from the wisdom tradition, from wisdom literature, specifically articulated in the book of Proverbs, we get this idea that Torah was present with God at the time of creation, exactly the same as the opening of John. In the beginning, there was the Word, and the Word was God, and the Word was with God. So we have this very, very same idea that Chokhmah was present with Source, functioning as the blueprint of all of creation, and that is through it's not right to say agency, enabled by, made possible with, facilitated by the existence of Chokhmah, the process of creation happens. So we have a hint of the feminine in Ecclesiastes, and we'll go more in depth in that during our session. But you'll see in the email that I'm going to send some reflection questions for us to begin to think about, and we'll do some sharing together as a way of getting back into the swing of things. In these warm-up videos, I have the intention of recommending background reading for you, but I don't have a recommendation for you for the book of Kohelet, Ecclesiastes, because its impact was so pervasive. So you're probably familiar with the Birds song that is put to music the entire third chapter of the book of Ecclesiastes. To everything there is a season. And the book has a profound impact on Western thought. It becomes a source for the idea that that there is no intrinsic value in most things that we find or to which we assign value, and that true valuing has to come elsewhere, but certainly not through the material. So I don't have a recommended reading for you, but I am very excited for us to be resuming in 2 weeks. And I wish you well and a Shana Tova between now and then. And I am so excited to dive in together 2 weeks from today as we open our first Megillah, Megillat Kohelet.